It's nice, the cables are actually quite well hidden. They're not in the way.
Yeah, I make sure they're always buried with the i2. Before you put those in regardless of any bottom bracket.
I can really smell that
The
cleaning
brake
fluid.
cleaner, yeah.
Oh, it's brake cleaner.
Yeah, like a degreaser.
Yeah. Putting Activator inside. All this does is speed up the curing process. So, like 3 days, 2 hours.
It's pretty smooth. Yeah, I checked it afterwards because I know that he normally cleans it off. But this one's already pretty cleaned off because the way the BB was already in there.
So what do we have on that side?
We have the install cup.
And how important is it that both sides are straight during this first part?
It's not super critical, it's just getting it started straight till it breaks through the middle point where the bottom bracket shell is going to be wider. And you'll see the BB free itself up going in. You can feel a lot of pressure, but it's not a substantial amount of pressure where you think you should stop. Should start getting easier in a second. There we go. So we'll get it just before the next cup touches.
How do you get the retaining compound on this side?
So this side, he just wants you to put it on the actual carbon itself. This side, you actually put it into this groove and just make sure it's all the way around, and then finish the pressing in. So as you push it through here, it should actually pull itself underneath as you're pushing the bottom bracket through.
And is there a certain amount of Loctite it needs, or is it less is more, perhaps? Or?
Yeah, like he claims, don't put too much on there. You don't need a lot. You only need the minimal amount. And just make sure you get it all the way around. It's in that groove. Do the same on the other side. I mean, if you put too much, it's just going to push it right out anyways. Everybody normally thinks you need a pile of grease in here or carbon paste compound, and all you're doing is just pushing it all over the place and making a mess. Just going to get an eye for it too, make sure the press cup is kind of lined up the same way that the bottom bracket shell would be. Then you start pulling it in.
Wait, do you remember that carbon version that she would have right now? Is it all red?
And this is where it's going to get tight.
Oh yeah. There's that creaking you hear about.
That's it. And we're just going to take a look once we pull the tools out. Don't ever spin your press tool too fast. Otherwise this handle comes flying off and you risk damaging the bike. I'm just going to take a look at the BB and see what it looks like. You can see how the Loctite went around and went inside the cup.
Yep. So you just get rid of the excess. It doesn't
Yeah, I always wipe
get
off
in
all
the
the
way.
excess. You don't want it on anything. Just make sure everything's clean. And check your bearings, and that's like buttery smooth.
Yeah.
And that is all there is to it. You just reinstall the
It looks
crank.
good. The black anodized.
It's a nice
Coating
finish,
looks
really
really
nice
good.
finish actually.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to come in silver. I didn't realize you could order them in black.
Yeah, they can come in orange too.
Saw that.
Yeah.
That's why you can get the orange one.
Well, I have a black bike, so
I
I
would have
thought,
totally
oh.
got an orange one anyway.
Yeah, some people do. This is the race bottom bracket
Yeah.
for what it's worth. Do you ever want to check the gap here?
You can. We can get a feeler if you want to check it. But the only gap I see, there is a tiny one at the bottom right here,
Yeah.
like you suggest. But I don't think I have as thin of a feeler gauge as he has.
Get my nail on
Yeah, see how I can get it in there, but then not here. Like it goes in there, it goes in right there. There. Well, you don't want to keep just going tight and tight, trying to pull it further, thinking that you're going to actually press it in further. And all you're gonna do is
Break it again.
No, we're putting in those special bottom brackets.
Break
from
it
the UK. Doing an install video.
Yeah, we're gonna give it one more crack probably. I think that
There we go.
sounded awful.
That was not a good sign for me. Sorry.
That's the BB sound that you'd like to hear.
Okay. Glad you like it.
Everybody else gives it a heart attack.
Yeah, I got a weak heart, buddy. Come on.
Don't worry, she jumped too.
Yeah, fingernail cannot go in anymore. That's for sure.
What?
Wait, you want to buy mine?
She's getting rid of mine.
I just sold mine, yeah.
Like a crotch rocket?
Well, actually, electric.
Oh yeah, they go.
Oh my god. I love lightning.
I'm just gonna put a little bit of grease in here,
Yeah.
so it's not metal and plastic completely dry.
And the bearing's already in, but you normally put grease around the outside of the bearing and the inside of the slot that they go in, right?
So you
Press.
would if there's using rubber seals. These ones you don't,
Oh,
because it's still a sealed cartridge bearing. 32, so it shouldn't be it.
So should I worry about dust or water getting in here on those when I have to race in the rain, or like happen
if
all
the bearings
spring?
are sealed properly, you shouldn't have to worry about that. But they should be checked just like everything else on a regular basis for maintenance. Make sure nothing contaminants get in there. A little bit of grease on these splines. Don't need a ton. And then a little bit on the inside where your preload cap comes in. See, maybe the Cervelo took a little more care in the S5. We're not 100% on that.
And do you check the clearance here to make sure it's...
Yeah, I'll look at both sides and check to see what the Q factor looks like. Yeah. It shouldn't change though.
Can you fit, I heard you can't fit a power meter on these because of
You won't fit a Stages or a Pioneer or a dual-sided Shimano version. There's not enough clearance on the frame set. When you're tightening this up, this just needs to be finger tight. Most people over tighten these. And depending if you have a frame that needs spacers and has spacing issues, if you over tighten this, the crankset will get a lot of resistance on it. That's pretty much it. And we're just gonna run these in
Does
evenly.
that have to go down?
Yeah, we will put that in.
That's the safety.
Safety pin that doesn't really work too much.
Is there a thread locker on these guys too inside?
No, just grease.
Yeah, it's hard to tell when you should use grease and when you should use thread locker.
Yeah, I've never seen these bolts actually come out of the bike. If they're torqued properly from the start, you should never have an issue. You just make sure these bolts, you tighten them in an even pattern.
What torque setting? do you
So
use for this?
Shimano Hollowtech cranks are all 12 to 14 Newton meters. So I normally go in the middle and do 13. And just double check your torque. That's it.
That's a spin test. That is smooth.
Super smooth actually.
Yeah, that's what 10 watts right there. Because I had that bearing was creaking and it was all gritty inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this bearing here on the with the old bottom bracket was crunchy. And this is after, I don't know, 4 months of use.
Actually,
And not a lot of use.
You have a lot of clearance too underneath the crank arm. I don't know if the camera can see it, your naked eye can see it better.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's quite a bit of clearance there.
Yeah, I want to go. I like
And that is a Hambini bottom bracket install.
Yep.
Make sure everything's okay still. The battery's dead.
Uh-oh.
We're not going to check it for shifting anymore, but it did shift up fine.
Good.
For one try.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it for an install.
Cool.
Oh, dude, it is like unbelievably smooth. Well, you can usually tell Because there's always resistance from the free hub body, especially on a DT Swiss body. Like if you just touch the crank arm with your finger, barely touching it, and how easy the crank moves now. And then it actually falls down on the bottom stroke.